You are not blocked because you are lacking inspiration. You are blocked because you are trying to be impressive instead of being honest. Today, we are breaking down why the pressure to make good art is keeping so many creatives stuck, silent, and disconnected from the joy of creating things simply because it feels good. If you have been craving a more spacious and liberating relationship with your own creativity, this is the episode for you. Hi, I'm Renata McElvany, a creativity coach for neurodivergent and multi passionate women of color with over 10 years of experience in the creative industry and a lifetime creating for self care. And in this show, we explore creativity not just as a hobby, but as a tool for self discovery, healing, joy, and everything in between. So grab your favorite drink, get cozy, and let's dive in. Today, we are talking about the pressure of making good art and how this is holding you back. I wanted to talk about this topic because I see this pattern in so many people, whether they see themselves as creative or not. There is this belief that if they can't make something good or pretty, then they shouldn't be making anything at all. This also has shown up when I introduce clients to expressive art making, where the purpose isn't to create art that is pretty or polished, but the purpose is to give voice to our inner world through color, line, texture, and shape. I talked about this in my last episode, talking about why expressive art is so good for healing and self discovery. Yet, people struggle and they freeze, they hesitate, they even start to judge themselves before the pen even hits the paper. Somewhere along the way, we were taught that the only art that matters is the art that is impressive, that is easy to understand, that is worthy of praise. But have we ever stopped to ask ourselves, what new experiences could open up if we allowed ourselves to create art that wasn't polished or perfect? Who might you become creatively if you stop trying to make beautiful art and just focused on expressing what is true for you? And that is what we are exploring today. Let's get into it. So let's start off by talking about why good art isn't the only art that matters. Contrary to what we have been led to believe, focusing on art that is pretty, recognizable, and acceptable can limit what creativity can do for us. This pressure comes from living in a society where we prioritize external validation, commercial value, and digestible aesthetics that are made for the masses. And sure, there's nothing wrong with wanting to improve our skills or wanting to make beautiful art. Those things are very valid, but not everything needs to be optimized or measured in terms of financial success. And this is really common in today's society. Sometimes the most valuable creative experiences happen when we break the rules, when we create a piece that is unfinished, when the image is messy, raw, or abstract, or when we prioritize process over the result. But also when we are reminded that we don't have to sell the art, we don't have to post it, we don't have to explain it, we don't have to turn it into something useful. It can exist simply because you need to express something. This is where I see clients struggle the most because they believe that creating is only worthwhile if the art is good, understandable, and impressive. They think that they are going to be judged based on their performance, or like when they come in to create with me, that they are going to be judged based on how well they did, when this isn't the case. These beliefs keep us from experiencing the freedom and the self connection that can happen when art is allowed to be free and less imperfect and human. Because here's the thing, when you're focused on how others are going to perceive your work, it becomes harder to be present, to be playful, to be curious. And that is exactly where creativity supports us in our healing. It's in the process, not in a performance. So now let's talk about why discomfort and self-judgments can be your greatest teachers, not a stop sign. When we make art that doesn't meet our own standards, or we start to feel uncomfortable and frustrated, these emotions can be our greatest teachers because they often reveal the deeper layers of our own self-talk. When we're saying things like, this looks stupid, I'm not talented enough, or I should know how to do this by now. We are judging ourselves. We are vocalizing ideas, judgments, and even expectations that we have internalized in our subconscious mind that likely have gone unquestioned and might not even be our own. We might have not made the intentional choice of deciding that that's what we believe. And if you're like me or most people on the self development and healing journey, we naturally tend to lean towards the comforting and flattering parts of our self development. And what I mean is that it's really normal for most of us to want to feel safe, and we don't want to have to leave our comfort zone. So we stick to the things that are comfortable and easy. But avoiding the challenging, the ugly, and raw parts of ourselves is rarely where the deep healing and growth happens. Imperfect art invites you to notice the fears that you carry about being seen, the pressure that you place on yourself to perform, and the expectations that you may have absorbed about worth and value. This is a kind of information that doesn't always surface to the top through logic alone. Imperfect art and creative explorations reveal truths about ourselves that we can't always think our way through. And here's the thing, we need both the light and the shadow sides of ourselves, both of these aspects of who we are, to have a place in our creative practice. This is why letting go of the rules can really help to set our creativity free. Now, let's talk about why letting go of the rules can help us to set our creativity free. Because another thing that happens when we pressure ourselves to make good art is that we weaken our creative self trust. And you can really see this when people want to reconnect with their creativity, when they want to start to be more creative, and they cling to tutorials, templates, how to guides, and pre made kits. Not because they aren't capable of more, but because open ended creativity can feel risky. And this is very real. I want to name this because I feel like we don't talk about this enough. And often when we want to do things on our own, we think to ourselves, what if I mess it up? Or what if whatever I make isn't good enough? And here's what I want to say to this. There is a time and a place for structured creativity, especially when you're coming back to creativity, when you haven't been making in a long time. It's a great place to start, but this can really start to become limiting if you don't allow yourself to explore outside of these boundaries. And you never really get to discover the most exciting and authentic parts of your own creativity. This is why making bad, imperfect, and unpredictable art matters, because it helps you to break the rules. It brings you back to yourself. And honestly, it's way more fun when you get to this point because you finally start creating from a place that is genuine, from a place within you where you start to ask bigger questions and you start to push the boundaries of what people expect from you, even from your own self. Eventually something shifts and you start realizing that your most honest art isn't always pretty. It's not always the right way to approach what you want to express. The your boldest ideas don't come from playing it safe. It's from experimenting and trying new things. And that your most liberating creative moments come from letting go, from being free and just being in the moment. So today we have talked about why good art isn't the only art that matters. Why discomfort and self judgments are some of your greatest teachers, and why breaking the rules can set you free creatively. Now, I want to give you a couple of reflection questions that you can take to your journal or your voice notes for further exploration. The first question is, what do I fear will happen if my art isn't good? The second question is, what might become available to me creatively if I didn't aim for good art at all? If you do this reflection exercise, feel free to DM me on Instagram and share your experience, share what came up, because I always love to hear what folks are experiencing as they are exploring their creativity. So don't hesitate to reach out. So here is my final takeaway. Your worth is not measured by the beauty or the success of what you create. Making imperfect, messy, bad art isn't a setback. It's a necessary and powerful part of your growth, both creatively and personally. When you stop trying to make good art, you make space for honest art, surprising art, healing art that does something for you. So please don't stop making bad art. It might just be the most important art that you ever make. That's it. That's the episode. If this resonated with you, please like and subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. And if you're listening to the podcast, please rate the show. This helps to reach more creatives who need to hear this message. And if you want more creative nourishment, prompts, reflections, sign up for my newsletter. This is where I share more personal stories and any upcoming offerings. You can also find me on Instagram for behind the scenes glimpses of my own creative process, and all the links are in the show's description. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will talk to you on the next one. Until then, stay creative. Bye.